Hello and welcome back to Pod Popper's Place. I'm Penny and today I am sharing my final cards for Kendra's Card Challenge 17. Kendra's Card Challenge 17 is ending and we will be starting Challenge 18 very soon. So these are my final sketches using the vintage Winnie-the-Pooh from Unity Stamps, and here I am working on card sketch number 11. After lining up all of my pieces on the back using some washi tape, I did trim it down as the edges didn't line up perfectly, and so I wanted to have a straight, clean edge. And I've been having issues with my trimmer not cutting straight, so I'm not sure if that's where this issue happened. But here you can see I just lined up my paper to be straight using a T-ruler, and so I'm putting on the additional pieces on the side. But then something happens. I'm not even sure what, but something happens after I put these strips on, and I don't know if the strips were not cut straight or if when I trimmed the edges it didn't cut straight, but you can see that the edges are not lined up evenly. I have quite a difference between the top and bottom of my card with the black at the top and bottom, and it bugged me. So I ended up cutting basically the black edges off, and I'm going to redo the black background. So I just use a couple of basic strips, but then I need to finish off the top and bottom. And I have these frames that I've been using, and I have these frames cut in black already. And so I just use the bottom edges of these frames to give me that black edge at the bottom of my back layer here. And when I put this together, it lines up really nicely, and it just gives me just enough black edging so that it looks like I have a whole sheet behind it, and when I really don't. So lots of ways to fix little problems that come into into your project when you're working. I have lots of these mishaps, and I don't always film them or include them, but I do encourage you to keep pushing forward, because usually there's a way to solve these little things that happen. So I cut out several layers of congrats, and I just use my vintage ink, photo ink, to darken that up and give it some depth and everything, because it's all just plain white, and I don't want the plain white because it's just way too stark for this look that I'm going for with the antique. And then I put the little from all of this right on top of there, and so I don't have to pop that up on any foam tape or anything. And just using some matching cardstock, I create my little circle for a landing spot for my Pooh to go. Next, I'll be working on card sketch number 12. So I have all of my pieces. These are fairly plain pieces of cardstock. It is another paper set from Unity Stamps, but it is kind of a more simple background. It doesn't have a lot of detail to it. So I'm going to use this Winnie-the-Pooh 100 Acre Woods background stamp, and I'm going to turn my scene so that it actually is horizontal and not vertical as the card sketch shows. And once again, I use my vintage photo to give everything a more rustic, antique look. And I really love this Unity Stamps background. It's super cool. And I will be covering quite a bit of it up, but I still thought it would be fun to use it because my pieces for the actual card sketch are kind of so plain. And I use some ink to give it some splatter. And, I'm using a box here, but I still managed to get splatter on my Pooh outside of the box. So I just decided, okay, well, we'll just make it look more intentional. So I added some splatter to him as well. So even though you may splatter in a box, be careful where you're splattering at, because it may go in places that you don't really intend for it to go. So I laid this out even vertically, even though I'm going to be using it actually horizontally, but it's just more, it was just easier for me to process how to put this together if I do it as the card sketch shows, and then I can just turn the card when I'm done. So I'm using some additional paper for those center strips, and One of those is from a previous card that I made where I used some of the embossing paste and a stencil to just create some texture on some paper, and it's just a piece of that was left over, and I cut that into a strip. And then I had already cut this other background, and I just cut a strip out of that as well using a die because it had the wonkety edges, and so I wanted it to match all the way around. And so after I had these laid out, I do use my T-ruler trying to keep everything as straight as possible. And you don't have to be super specific here about the spacing, but I tried to make it hopefully evenly spaced between the three. Sometimes I can get quite particular about that, but I don't think I was measuring or anything here. If you have watched any of my other Winnie-the-Pooh videos, I would really love to know what you think. I really enjoyed making this set of 15 cards using this just one stamp set. I really thought they were really cute, and they really bring me back to my childhood. So I would love to know what you think as well. So I get my Pooh laid down there, and I had bought this kind of coppery DMC metallic floss ribbon. I didn't have any like copper colored. I had gold and silver, I think, but no copper. So I found this, and it's a little bit thicker than some of the other floss I've used, but it has a lot of nice metallic threads going through it. And so I'm going to be using that to just tuck behind my sentiment here and just give it a little more interest and kind of carry through that copper kind of colors that I've got going on with this card. On to sketch number 13, and I'm going to be using my frame die again to create more of those frames out of this metallic cardstock. And I do like to use my double-sided sticky sheets to create those because it already has a lot of stickiness to it, and then I don't have to worry about gluing that tiny little edges. And I actually do use the largest one here, and you can see it in the top left corner. I created that one, and I can't remember why, but I didn't like how it looked with the spacing in between the frame and the edge of the paper, so in the center. So I ended up using the next size frame and putting that around the pattern paper in the center. I do have to use a little bit of glue because I didn't have a full sheet of sticky adhesive paper there, but it's a lot easier when you have some of it already stuck down. And then I'm going to use another frame for my centerpiece along with some more of this cardstock that I've been using throughout this series of graduation cards. Once again, I used my Congrats die and layered it with a background of black this time so that it had a shadow layer behind the metallic. For card sketch number 14, this has quite a few different strips of paper, so I did lay out my paper so that it was already in order of how I needed to put it down on my background layer. And I decided to use a banner piece as well on top of this as my large piece in the center. And I'm laying out specifically, here I'm getting a little bit more specific about where I'm putting my pieces down. I'm checking out where the center is and trying to make sure that I get my centerpiece down so that all my other pieces will be where they need to be. And do you see it yet? This is where I make my mistake. I completely messed up thinking that, oh, I just have these two other pieces on either side to add, when really up in the top right corner is the other pieces of my cardstock I was supposed to add in there as well. And I didn't realize until here. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these now? And I could squeeze them in behind and it would look, it would look okay. But what I go ahead and do is I do trim those down to about half the size, and I do add them behind, but I don't think I have all the layers I'm supposed to have, all the lines. So it's okay. When you make a mistake that can't be completely fixed. You just, you work around it. So I do use some of those extra little pieces that I was supposed to use for part of my strips, just as support behind my banner, because this is a thinner paper than regular cardstock. And so I needed some support behind my banner so that it didn't like dip down into these like, holes, if you want to call them. So it actually made it really nice because they just kind of fit in like a slot for my banner to go into. So, I made it work. It doesn't look exactly like the sketch, but, close enough. So I actually messed with sentiments a lot for this card. And I wanted to use this round circle kind of embellishment piece. And I end up using it here, but if you can see to the left, I actually had tried it on something else and I wasn't happy with it. It didn't go on straight, and it was a good 15 minutes worth of video that I cut because I was not happy with how that was working at all. So, sometimes you just gotta set something aside and, try something different. So I use more of that metallic ribbon, DMC floss, and put that behind there just for a little added extra shine. And this about finishes up my card for this sketch. For card sketch number 15, the final one for this series, I used the background that I didn't use earlier, that I didn't like. And I ended up spraying it with some water, kind of, giving the oxidation look to the ink that was already there. And I used an embossing folder. And now I'm just putting down my pieces of paper that were already cut for this sketch, and then I added some metallic copper paper to go in between those. I do struggle a little bit with the half circle and with the sentiment. I don't know why I used this small half circle. I think I could have gotten a bigger one. And looking back at this, I thought, like, you can see so much of the inked paper behind that half circle. So if I had that to do over again, that would definitely be something I'd change. I do not like all that light color showing there. Maybe I thought that the Pooh would cover enough of it up, and he did not. And this is actually the circle that I tried to use earlier that I wasn't happy with. Somehow I made it work. And so it didn't get wasted. So all right, these are all the 15 cards for all the sketches for Kendra's Card Challenge 17. All the details for the challenge are going to be in the link below, but look out for number 18 coming soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.